All right, and with that, we should actually be live now. I understand why everything messed up, and it makes some things make sense. All right, and with that,
oh wow, you guys should not be listening to me.
I understand,
but apparently you are.
Why everything messed up, and it makes some things make sense.
Stop speaking, me. Stop it. Bad, Cirrus. Do not speak. This is the Cirrus that speaks, not the Cirrus in my head. And then apparently my cat decided to speak as well. So that's why you say that every time you start. Yes, because there's always a chance that it's not going to start. There's always a chance that I'm going to make a mistake, as evidenced here. So, I know that normally Mondays is when we take on Matt Powell, but last Monday and this Monday, being the holiday season, we are not doing that. That's going to start up again as soon as January starts, which should start here for me in about 8 hours. But that doesn't mean we're going to be taking care of Matt Powell right now. So, with that said, I am sorry that we were not able to get up live. I figured out what the issue was. Apparently, the stream key that YouTube uses that allows me to stream to my YouTube account changed. I don't know why it changed. I just know that the first warning sign should have been when I went live and I didn't see my live chat, and I had to go to the actual live dashboard to see my live chat. It all makes sense now. I get it now. So all that is taken care of. Everything should be good now. And Matt Powell streams will be starting again next week. But in the meantime, wanted to say, first of all, Happy New Year, everybody. I know we've got another 8 hours before we're going to do that, but we are going to be doing something for New Year's as well. There will be another stream on this channel with the Godless Iowan and co, and that's going to be simulcasted on both me and Philosophically Godless's channel, or Godless Iowan. His channel is Philosophically Godless. I still don't like that he did that. If you're listening, Godless Iowan is way better. It's better branding. Everybody knows you as Godless Iowan. You're hurting yourself. Stop. People still call V Theomachy because of issues like this. Dragnaut says that Matt Powell has reached out to G-Man. Why? They're cut from the same cloth. Idiot. But, you know, if Matt Powell wants to reach out to G-Man, that's fine. You know, that's up to them. Anywho, what we're going to be getting down, what we're going to be taking care of today, instead of Matt Powell, is something that's equally stupid, if you can even get that. We have an article on the Biblical Gender Roles website, and it is called Why a Wife Should Endure Painful Sex with Her Husband. So, first of all, if you have an issue with this article, you're a normal thinking human being, just based on the title alone. However, they do have a disclaimer. In fact, let me show you how much of this article is dedicated to disclaimer. These paragraphs. Cool, so we have 1, 2, 3. I'll just take all those points as 3, 4, 5, 6 total paragraphs worth of information dedicated to a disclaimer. And that's it. That is it. If you need to have 6 paragraphs of disclaimer in your article, chances are you've chosen the wrong title for your article. This is obviously a very clickbaity title. Zalrak says, why do creationists and apologists in general lie about atheism? Sometimes it's not a lie. Sometimes it's misinformation. I'm willing to grant that in a lot of cases it's a misinformation. But if somebody says that like all atheists are moral reprobates, that's a lie. That could be misinformation depending on how indoctrinated you are, but it's definitely a form of a lie at that pace. Dryworker says, of course they have 6 paragraphs apologizing for their shit. It's not 6 paragraphs, it's another article of apologies for all of that. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting article. I know we haven't gotten into it yet, but I just wanted to point out how much apology they make for the article within the article, and I think that should have been the first sign that maybe they were writing the wrong article. But let's start out. It says, should a wife always alert her husband at the first sign of painful intercourse? Or should women endure a certain amount of pain and hide this from their husbands? My take on that, if you are experiencing pain during sex, please communicate it with your partner. That is important. What about women who deal with chronic and untreatable conditions that will always make sexual intercourse painful? Why would that change anything? If you're experiencing pain during sexual intercourse, communicate it. If you want to endure a certain amount of pain simply because you want to fulfill your partner, that's on you, but you should still communicate so as to not exacerbate any problems. How does the Bible say a Christian wife should respond in these situations? Why does it matter? I don't see why a book written thousands of years ago, when they had a very, very rudimentary understanding of human physiology, why we should be consulting it for how to fuck. But, regardless, Dragnot says it's the price women must pay because of Eve. Well, these women obviously are paying the wrong price. But, since the average person in America is only capable of reading a title, this is true, and perhaps the first few paragraphs, let me start out with what this article is not advocating for. Okay, cool. So what they're doing here is they're saying that most people are only apt to read the first few paragraphs of a particular article. I agree with this, although usually it is just the title. In this, me and the author of this article agree. So the first few paragraphs of this are nothing but saying what the article's not. This is not unlike when Jordan Peterson was asked what he meant by enforced monogamy, and he responded with what he didn't mean by enforced monogamy, but he never broke down what he actually meant in his argument. At least there is a second part to this article, so I can at least hope that they will say what position they are advocating for. But start out by saying this article does not advocate for men to have sex with their wives right after childbirth. How was that insinuated? Or after she has had surgery, or when she is sick. Again, how is any of that insinuated? You had an article right up here asking about chronic illness already. You don't need second level clarification. 2, this article does not advocate for sexual sadism, taking sexual pleasure from causing someone else pain. This article might not advocate for it, but I do. Only because I'm familiar with the BDSM community, and familiar enough to know that masochists exist. And if you're having sex with a masochist, then being a sadist is probably actually a good thing. That's a benefit. That's not a detriment. Although they're probably talking about something a little more malignant. And if that's the case, then me and the person in the article might agree. But if they're talking about all forms of sadism, then me and the writer of the article definitely do not agree at all. So, this article does not tell women they cannot or should never tell their partners about pain during sex, nor is it saying that men should never stop having sex when their wife indicates that there is a pain issue. Nor is it saying that men should never stop having sex. Okay, cool. So, I do enjoy that there is a little clarification here. However, So I've skimmed through this article, that way some of my responses to this could be genuine and not contrived. When you're building a video, usually you read through everything or you go through the entire article once, and then you look through it again in order to make sure that you have a clear position on what you're going to be talking about, because you might need to do some research. Unless you're Godless Engineer, in which case you can do that stuff live and be a better YouTuber for it anyway. I wish I was as good as GE at what he does, but I'm not, so I'm here. So I've skimmed through the article itself, but from what I remember skimming through it, they undermine all 3 of these later. But we'll see. I don't want to poison the well. The article is actually taking comments that were sent to me, one from a man and then multiple comments from 2 women, discussing painful intercourse from a Christian woman's point of view. This article discusses 2 types of pain. One is caused by temporary issues, and that some women allude to below, and others that are caused by chronic, untreatable conditions. Let me just point out, if you don't want to have sex because it hurts you, you don't owe it to your husband to have sex. I'm sorry, you don't owe your body to anybody. If it hurt me, like if I had some kind of erectile issue where it hurt me to masturbate, it hurt me to have sex, hurt me to do anything, I would not owe it to my girlfriend or wife to have sex. They would not owe it to me to have sex. I'm hoping that they do not make the case that sex is something that's owed to your partner. That would be really awkward if they did. As far as the chat goes, skeptical sadist, Cyrus's alter ego from another urbanite. Number 1, if you're unable to learn new things, then there is no IQ of 0. GE isn't bad. I like your brand, though. Well, the thing with GE is he's a brilliant autodidact, even if we disagree on some things, like I'm personally not a mythicist. So he does very well with what he does, and he can do it very efficiently. He holds down a full-time job as well as runs his daily videos on his channel. That's something I can't do. My channel is my full-time job, and that's the only reason I can run daily videos on my channel, is because I can dedicate over 40 to 60 hours a week to just my channel. Okay, they go on to say, stop reading this article from this point if you are unable to learn new things. You are unable to emotionally or intellectually process other points of view. You think sex is not a need and is only for pleasure, and no reasoning to the contrary will convince you otherwise. Okay, I think this one needs to be unpacked a little bit. So, sex in a relationship is a need. It is something that is needed, but it's not so much the sex itself, it's the act of intimacy that is needed. You need, especially if you are heterosexual and you have a heterosexual girlfriend or a bisexual girlfriend, either way, if your sexualities line up and you require sex for some level of intimacy, then yes, there's going to be a need for sex. But it does not mean you need to have sex. Those are distinct. For instance, there's entire psychological studies on what sexless relationships look like, and some of them work out, some of them don't. If one party thinks that they need sex, and they're dating someone who's asexual, that these are two people who are sexually incompatible and need to figure something else out. But I think this article is going to be talking specifically about heterosexuals, because it's a good Christian article, obviously, and that's usually what those are aimed at. Right, emotional connection and the desire to be desired. Yes, I agree, drag worker. There is a need there, but I'm hoping that this article is willing to accept that there's nuance to that need. It's not husband needs sex, wife doesn't want sex, husband's need goes above wife's want. That's not how these things work. And Bill Gart says the exception to that is asexual individuals or couples who have romantic or emotional needs but not sexual ones. I agree. No, I agree. If you have two people who are asexual, they might not need that kind of connection at all. That might not be a thing that they pursue. And that's fine. So, 4, you think men only want sex from their wives for pleasure and no reasoning to the contrary will convince you otherwise. I don't think that men only want sex from their wives for pleasure. I don't. I can't think of many people who do. I know that they exist, and there are certainly people who only want sex for pleasure's sake. They don't want it for the emotional connection. But again, I think that that's more of a minority of people. You do not think any person should ever suffer even the smallest amount of pain in order to do something kind for another person, and no reasoning will convince you otherwise. The problem there is should. I can't say that my girlfriend should suffer pain in a small amount so that I can receive pleasure in a large amount. That's not how this works. It's not a should. Can she? Yes, she can if she wants, but it's not a should matter. That's not how this works. 6, you accept that people may suffer pain in order to do something kind for others, except in the area. Okay, so this is just a reiteration of 5. That's all this is. It's just a reiteration of 5. You believe there's never a circumstance where a man or woman should suffer even the smallest amount of pain. No, this is almost a verbatim. This is just an expansion of 5. You have 5 points here. That's actually no. You have 4 points because point 1 and 2 are the same, and point 3 and 4 are kind of the same. Never mind. They have 1, 2, 3 points, expanded into 6 for arbitrary reasons. Neat. The should implies normative behavior instead of circumstantial. Fair. Also, Holy Spackle has just subscribed. Thank you for that. So, if you are the person I just subscribed, stop reading, or just described, stop reading. Go and continue living in your safe space with your beliefs and presuppositions unchallenged. Oh my god. First of all, a safe space is not... It's not what they're talking about. That's a straw man of what a safe space actually is. But if you guys want more detail on that, Lady Unicorn EJG would be a good way to learn about that. However, ignoring that, with your beliefs and presuppositions unchallenged. Your beliefs and presuppositions unchallenged. From the Christian website, talking about biblical sex. There's a whole bunch of irony in there, and I don't feel like unpacking it. Lady Unicorn EJG, Smitty. Oh goody, I feel like I'm about to get called a snowflake. And the idea that some ancient books should tell women to bear pain so that their man can be pleased is barbaric. Joy the 21st century. I agree. Now, there's for your information, several of Christian and skeptics have been sharing this horrible article. Most people are disgusted no matter their beliefs. That's good. No, that's very good that people are disgusted with this article, because from what I have read, this is not an article I would want to have written. I would not want to be in the position where I had written it. That would be very, very awkward. Kelmvor? I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. I'm sorry if I am. He says, I feel like I'm about to get called a snowflake. You're not going to get called one by me, because I personally don't have a use for that term. But the writer of this article, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to strawman the writer of the article. I say, but I give you this last warning. If you continue reading, you may be exposed to Bible passages and ideas you have never heard in all your life. You know, the only example of Bible passages that I have not heard in my entire life that I can think of didn't come from the Bible. They came from Bible 2, Electric Boogaloo. And, sorry, but these ones weren't profound either. Anywho, if I had my Bible, I'd pull that out for a joke instead, but all I have is a Book of Mormon over there. That was graciously given to me by the people who knock on my doors for reasons. Zozo says, not late, am I? 17 minutes, but I wouldn't say that's late. We haven't even gotten into the bulk of the article. The first 17 minutes of the stream has been explaining about all the apologies the article has to make for itself before the article actually starts. So, and Holy Spackle says, the term snowflake is an attempt to discredit compassion. I mean, that's fine if you're a sociopath. I actually do kind of agree with that. When you call somebody a snowflake, you're never doing it because you're trying to get them to learn something. You're almost always doing it as an attempt to undermine their position. For instance, if somebody advocates for being a little more PC, I may or may not agree with that, but I'm not going to call somebody who advocates for PC culture or PC conversation as a snowflake. That does nothing but undermine their position. It's not useful. I don't think you can get anything useful out of that. Smitty says, I don't use it in that way. I use it in the way it's supposed to be used to describe people who melt down when their ideas are challenged, like on Ben Shapiro. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. You may find truths in the Bible that are life-changing, truths that give us as men and women purpose for our lives, truths that conflict with many values and ideologies that you have been raised with as American, even as Christian. I'm sorry, but the entire Puritan culture of America is built around the Bible for the most part, so the idea that anything in here is going to be new, I kind of doubt it. You might find out that this is about a lot more than just women experiencing painful sex. Well, I would hope so, otherwise there wouldn't be a lot of substance here. Rocket Medic says, keep in mind the Bible passage bit is specifically for Christians. Atheists tend to have actually read the thing. Pavlovka says, sirs, there are types of apologies that start at the sentence sounding genuine and end up sounding sarcastic by the end. I think that's probably what's going to end up happening here. With that, here we go. The following comments were recently submitted on an article that I wrote back in 2016 entitled The Benefits of Being a Sexually Obedient Wife. Oh boy. We're going to do a thing first. Before we go any further, we're going to mark our place here. And we're going to go over here. And we are going to go about me. As a young man, I was passionate about 4 areas of study. Okay, Now we know that the author is male. The Benefits of Being a Sexually Obedient Wife, written by a young man who was passionate. Ooh. Oh. That's always fun. Before we go any further, Christy Santiago should have a wrench. I actually agree. I need to give Christy a wrench. Christy needs to say something so I can give her a wrench. There we go. Add moderator. Christy Santiago is now a moderator. I agree with this. The article title makes me, a straight white cis male, uncomfortable. The article makes me, as a straight white cis male, uncomfortable. Like, well, at least they're covering as many issues as they can. No, this is a clusterfuck of an article already. Just between these two, I was willing to say it was written by a woman who may have just been indoctrinated to believe these things, but now that I see it's written by a male, I can't help but think that there's not at least some manipulation going on here. At least some. So, the first came from a person calling himself JDM Martin. Well, I hope it's not JMD, because JMD is my friend, but this is JDM. Very different. Sex is actually fairly painful for my wife. She has never said flat out no, and absolutely never asked to stop before I am finished. She's proud of that, and basically won't let me stop, or it would ruin her record. Oh, God. LOL. She has a saying, or thing she says, those are the same thing, from time to time, that women have no idea what makes a girl good in bed. Women have no idea. What makes a girl good in bed is what she's willing to let her husband do, and how much pain she can take. No! Abso-fucking-lutely not! Oh my God! Where is it? Where is it? It's begun. I haven't even gotten into the bulk of the article. Oh, we're here. No. 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 Okay. There we go. Now that I've sufficiently bludgeoned that out. Oh, that hurts. Not the hammer. The hammer was fine. The pain from the hammer does not compare to this. After some other comments he sent that I blocked and did not approve of, I became convinced that JDM Martin was in fact a troll. But I decided to let his first comments remain because of the conversation it evoked with two women. Sometimes even some of the absurdity in comments by trolls can bring about good discussions. Okay, good. Good. I'm fine with that. That's okay. Cool. So me and the writer of the article agreed that that sentence is heinous. Okay. The first woman, Alice, made this response to JDM Martin's comment. The idea that what makes a woman good in bed is how much pain she can take is not biblical. Have you read the Bible? How much, in the least. It is also repugnant. We agree. It has nothing to do with feminism, but with basic biology. If sex is painful for a woman, then something is wrong, either with her or her husband's treatment of her. Okay, they don't respond yet, but a second woman called Sunny made the response to Alice. Oh boy. Alice, I actually disagree with you on that. I'm not going to say if you should or should not continue sex if it's painful, but that it is up to the individuals to decide. Okay, I agree with that. I will say from personal experience that painful sex doesn't always mean there's something wrong. In the chat. In the chat. Can anybody tell me what pain is? Like, why pain exists? I'm sure at least somebody knows that pain is a response to negative stimuli. Your brain is sending off a signal as a warning to stop the thing. It's what pain is. It's a warning. So, we'll continue. I just wanted to establish that. Sex can be painful at times with my husband. I'm not sure how else to put this, but if a man is larger in the southern region, then sex can be quite painful at times. Yes, because if you try to square a circle, or if you try to shove the circle in a peg that it doesn't go in,
or the peg is too small, then yes, something is wrong here. The fact that you and your husband still have sex regardless of that, fine, you can do you. But understand that because he's larger than you, or larger than you are down there, then yes, something is wrong there. It's not something that you can really help, unfortunately. Biology is something we can't really control. But it doesn't change the fact that everything you said here is wrong. Anyways, again, I'm not saying that a woman should or should not continue, as that is a personal choice. Thank you. We agree. Personally, for us, there are times where he will stop and other times where it doesn't really matter, or we will just change positions. So, you're saying that if you have sex in one position, it hurts, and if you have sex in a different position, it doesn't hurt. Why did you change that position? Probably because it hurts. You know why it hurts? Because thanks to his size versus yours, the original position you were in was painful. Therefore, your brain sent the signal of pain. You know what the signal of pain means? Something was wrong. Jesus freaking Christ. That's probably TMI. People change position during sex. That's not TMI. If you're an adult, that's not TMI. But it's true, and I'm sure many women have dealt with it with their husbands who are above average in size. Okay? True. There's going to have to be some finagling there. Either lower the amount of time you're penetrating, or you're going to have to do something else, like what you said in here, changing positions. Cool, we agree. On some things, like the beginning paragraph here, or the beginning of this paragraph, you're wrong. Alice then responded, "Sonny, my husband is also overly endowed." Of course he is. I don't worry, Sonny, I believe you. Why on earth do women think this is a good thing? He takes extra care and patience so that I very rarely experience pain. Because that's what you should do! That's what you're supposed to do! Sex is between two people trying to make each other feel good. You're supposed to minimize pain. Unless, of course, that's what you want. But that's not what you're talking about here. You're not talking about sadism and masochism in the BDSM sense. We're just talking about two cis-normative hetero couples two cis-normative hetero people in a couple having sex. Brain. That's fine. That's fine. One of these people understands this. Not to mention, 6 babies have made their way through that passage, and their heads were certainly much larger. I still maintain that if a woman is crying through the whole experience, the man is doing something wrong, or she has medical issues which should be addressed. We agree! Cool. Oh, God. Hold on. I have to... Categories. You guys can't see this on your end, but apparently there's some categories here. Let me see if I can't make those a little more visible for just a second. There's one that I specifically saw in here that made me mad. Hold on, where is it? Where is it? Aha! Let's go ahead and pull this here for just a second so that you can see this category this is in. I'd imagine this category is a little like the tagging. Loving through the pain. Okay. I just wanted to show everybody that so that I wasn't the only one that saw it. Also, Smitty, the zooming out isn't going to make that stuff more visible because of the way I have this formatted. Like, if I do that, you can see that these are here, but I wouldn't say they're visible. Anyways, on to the continuation of the madness. To which Sonny made this final response. Alice, you must understand that all women are different. I have one child via C-section. After C-section, the muscles swell and tighten up. That is normal after C-section. My friend had the same problem. She approached the doctor about it, and even her own doctor wasn't concerned about the pain during intercourse. Basically, she told her that it's going to happen. I did cry the first time I had sex after my C-section, as I became virgin tight again. Virgin tight again. Do you not understand that sex does not make you more loose? That's not how that works. If that was No. There's no such thing as virgin tight. And even the hymen can be broken before sex. No, that's not a thing. That's not a fucking thing. That's not a thing. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say it. That's not a fucking thing. Oh, God. Anywho, yes, there are times that painful sex is linked to medical conditions or the reason for concern, but most certainly not in all cases. Yes, not all cases of pain during sex are a reason for medical concern, but they are a reason for some type of concern. They are a reason for at the very least, a conversation. My God. I'm not sure if any of the people involved writing or quoted in this article actually understand correctly. A word. So is it age that makes all of those roast beef sandwiches I saw online? Are gender roles gluten-free? Oh, Jesus. Also, Bud Askin says hello. How's it going, Bud? Okay. If my husband and I are not intimate for a few weeks, sex does become painful for me. This might not be the case for you, but you must understand that our bodies are not quite the same. If a woman waits longer periods of time before sex, things tighten down there. Add in larger male size, and the act of slipping it in even hurts. Have you tried lubricant? I actually have been on the verge of crying because we waited 2 months in between sex. Why? Why? Anyway, according to a medical professional, that's actually normal. Okay, there is a certain level of contraction there, but sure, why not? Urinary tract infections can also cause painful sex. Agreed. Chrissy Santiago says, gender roles are not gluten-free, but they are delicious smothered in gender fluids. Oh, God. Ralph says it's total naivete about female reproductive systems and genitalia. All right. Maybe your case is different because your sex is more active and you've had children naturally, but this is not the case for many women, myself included. Okay. You know that things, the muscle structure goes back to normal down there after a while, right? You know that, right? Okay, cool. I'm also in pain sometimes after exercising. That doesn't mean there's something wrong. Actually, when you're in pain after exercising, it's usually because your muscles are tearing in some way, because that's how they heal themselves back up to grow. There's actually an acid that leaks in that tear. And one of the reasons that people who work out a lot enjoy working out is because the pain from that acid, it actually has addictive properties. So that pain is because your muscles are literally leaking acid. It's not a bad thing. They're designed to do that. That's what they're supposed to do. But the oversimplification of anatomy here is egregious and horrible. Drag Worker says that joint is a problem. Agreed. If you have joint pain afterwards, that's more in the bones and that's a lot more problematic. But just like muscle pain, that's from ripping and tearing, and that's supposed to happen. That's normal. But again, anyway, I really do enjoy sometimes just letting people hash things out for a bit before I respond. And I actually think that it's a great thing for women to speak to each other in candid ways like this. Okay? There are things that women need to hear from other women, and this is an excellent case of that. What things? Wait, hold on. Is there a reason that you formatted this the way you did? So Sunny's response, the one saying that women should experience pain, essentially. Maybe I'm strawmanning that. Or at least misrepresenting that, simplifying it, maybe. There's a reason you showed this one last. I'm almost 100% certain that's the case. Let's see if that's the case. However, contrary to popular belief today, women can also learn about sex from men. Okay, yes, if you have a male gynecologist, you probably can. God divinely spoke his word through men. Nope, we're done. We're starting again. Starting again. Okay. He has no idea what women talk about when no men can hear them. Agreed. I have no idea what they talk about. Oh my God. So, let's continue with this madness. He also assigned fathers, husbands, and pastors and other male Christian teachers the responsibility to teach both men and women his great word regarding sex and marriage. But did God assign any women? Is that why Christian men can't find the clitoris? So, what is the answer to this question of painful sex for women? Should a wife endure any pain during sexual intercourse with her husband? The answer can be found in applying several principles found in the Bible. Okay, we're going to do some Bible reading, guys. Maybe if Eve hadn't gotten us all damned for eternity, women wouldn't have painful sex or bear children in sorrow. Say, Ali H has subscribed. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Okay, I bet his hammer hurts less than the steel pipe I have. Maybe I need a hammer. Here's the meat of the argument. Here we go. Principle 1. God created man to bring him glory by imaging him. Okay, cool. Let's go to Corinthians. Let's see what it says. For a man indeed ought not cover his head, for as much as he is the image of the glory of God, but the woman is the glory of the man. You know, I know some Muslims who might think that this is talking about hijab, and you wouldn't like that, would you? But it's okay here, right? Okay. Principle 2. God created woman for man, not man for woman. In Corinthians again. Don't you just love the writings of Paul? Also had Jeremy Pittman subscribed. Thank you for that. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman created for the man. Okay. I have a slew of things wrong with that. I'm sure that when Paul wrote those, he might not have meant the things that you think he meant, but I don't have the ability to exegete the Bible to the extent that somebody else can, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with what you're pulling from this, which is that men aren't for women, but women are for men. Do you know that equates women to a type of property? Are you aware of that? That's exactly what that does. But it hurts. And the hammer hurts less. Principle 3. God created man to desire beauty and pleasure, to image God's desire for beauty and pleasure in Psalms, Isaiah, and Revelation. Okay? God created man to desire beauty. So God created man, I'm imagining they're using beauty as a placeholder for beautiful women, so for women, and to seek pleasure in God's desire for beauty and pleasure. So men lusting after women is biblical, according to this, I'm assuming. Let's see if that is the case. Psalms. So shall the king greatly desire thy beauty, for he is thy Lord, and worship thou him. That's in Psalms. Okay, so that's just saying that God desires thy beauty, he's your Lord, worship him. Okay, cool. Sure, why not? Isaiah and Revelation. We're getting to the apocalypse, guys. Declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. In Revelation, thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure thy art created. What the fuck does any of this have to do with sex? None of that has anything to do with sex. That's awkward and bad and stupid. Obscure phrasing to hide the actual argument. Perfect. Gringo says, and God created man in his image, and the image of God created him, male and female, he created them. Thank you. That undermines this shit. Principle 4. One of the reasons God created women for man was to be his source or his well of sexual pleasure. Boy, oh boy, did you never meet your left or right hand. God equates a man's need for sex with his need for water. I see now we have an origin for the term thirst. Let's see what Proverbs says about this. Drink waters out thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Okay. Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad, and rivers of waters in the streets. Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. Let thine fountains be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. How is that acquainting? Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breasts satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. The Bible says, drink lots of water and get crushed under boobies. Perfect. Excellent. My favorite. Dragnot says, welp, I guess I need to inform my wife about her role in life. What is a row? I'm actually uncertain. I'm fairly certain that this is something that I can look up, though. In the meantime, we can continue over here into whatever kind of madness comes from here. But while we're doing that, let's see. Roe, the massive eggs contained in the ovaries of a female fish or shellfish, typically including the ovaries themselves, especially when ripe and used as food. I'm fairly certain that's not what they're talking about, but that could also be exactly what they're talking about. So, anyway, principle number 5. A man may only engage in the natural use of the woman after he has entered into a covenant of marriage with that woman. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I'm sorry. Here's why. And I've talked about it in my video responding to Girl Defined. If you want to wait until marriage to have sex, fine. That's up to you. That is your prerogative. However, informing other people that they should do the same is the utmost level of stupidity, and here's why. One of the causes of divorce is sexual incompatibility. This is actually a very running cause of divorce. Sexual incompatibility is something that can only be discovered by having intercourse with your partner. If you wait until you're in a legal agreement to stay with your partner, to have intercourse with your partner, and then you discover afterwards that you are sexually incompatible, like maybe it hurts you to have sex because of a particular endowment, that might be something that you needed to figure out before you had the legal agreement. And yet, here we are, in the situation where sexual compatibility is completely thrown under the rug, and men should only engage in the natural use of the woman. It cites Hebrews, so let's go to Hebrews. Marriage is honorable in all, the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. So, I do have to wonder, does the idea of adultery pertain to polyamorous people? Because there were polygamous people in the Bible. Does adultery count there? Or is it only when that's not the case? I don't know. Maybe a biblical scholar could verify that for me. All sex outside of the marriage covenant, such as prostitution or premarital sex, is condemned by God. Then God doesn't know shit about the sex that he created. I'm sorry. At that point, I have to... If God is saying that this is how you should do sex, but this is the demonstrably wrong way to have sex, then I'm sorry, but we just had a strike against God's omniscience. There we go. I forgot which omni trait that was. You're not all fucking knowing if you say something blatantly fucking wrong. And here, we have something blatantly fucking wrong. Pufflepugus says, personally, I scream every time my wife puts it in, but she's the Southern Baptist, and they know how God works better than anybody. How does one find a tomato skillet? Yet Solomon had a ton of wives, so... Hungering Thought says there are a lot of omnis. Typically, it's tri-omni. I usually define it as a quad omni. Omnipotent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent. Omnipresent is usually what you're using in the quad omni, though the tri-omni people will say that omnipresence is part of omnipotence, because that's being everywhere is within your power. It depends on your definition of power, though. That's its own conversation. I'm not getting into that one right now. We're talking about sex, not God. Although apparently we're talking about God, according to this article. Principle number 6. God also created women with a need for sex, and he equates a woman's need for sex for her need for food and clothing. So, okay. Who here is familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Okay. I'm going to assume most of you. So clothing is actually lower on the hierarchy, or higher on the hierarchy of needs. On Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your base level is more important. Everything higher up is less important until you've established the things on the lower level, and then the things on the higher level become more and more important as you go. Survival-wise, water is more important than food. You can survive without food for a month, sometimes more. Without water, however, your body will dehydrate to a point of decay within a matter of days. So equating a woman's need for sex to that of food and clothing, which are less important than water, and equating a guy's need for sex to that of water, is saying that a guy's need for sex is more important than that of a woman's. Incorrect on practically every level. Okay. It's a good thing that I only drink tea. Otherwise, this might be filled with something a little stronger. Why did God plant this need in women? Probably because if both parties have a need for sex, then it aids in procreation, and if you have an aid in procreation, that helps, maintain a society, or at least get your population to a point where it can establish a society. But whatever. Why did God give women the desire to have sex and the ability to experience sexual pleasure? Because otherwise, God would be a fucking dick. If he's going to give it to men but not women, then he's a dick. For this, we must refer back to principle number 2. This tells us that women's desire for sex and her ability to enjoy sex was not given to her for her own sake, but rather for the sake of her husband, to complement and enhance his sexual pleasure. Oh boy! Oh boy! So wait a minute. Wait a minute. So, a woman's desire for sex is only as important as insofar as it pertains to her husband. A woman's need for sex is as important as food and clothing, but a man's need for sex is as important as water. So, what you're saying is everything about women and sex is second class compared to men and sex. That's what I'm gathering from this. If I'm wrong, then let me know in the chat. But no, that's everything about that is horrible. Finno says, where is Team Skeptic when we urgently have need of 25 dings for a single sentence? Jesus. When a man enjoys the sexual pleasure of his wife, he images the pleasure of God, the pleasure God receives in his relationship with his people. That's a real good way to say God fucks all of his people. And then again, the Israelites are likened unto, Dragnite. If you're still listening, you probably know this passage better than I do. But the Israelites as a nation are likened unto a bride to God, and God violates his bride. Something like that. I could be wrong. But again, let me know in the comment section below if that passage says what I think it does. But I don't remember what passage it was. I have the book that talked about that passage on my Audible account, but I can't remember the passage itself. Go figure. Also, this basically says that God is a voyeur. Just saying. Just saying. Principle number 7. All Christians, both men and women, are called to emulate Christ's endurance in the face of suffering and pain, especially for the benefit of others. Holy shit, that is biting the bullet something awful. All Christians, both men and women, are called to emulate Christ's endurance in the face of suffering and pain. Do you know what Jesus went through on the cross? He one of the reasons that he ended up dying, and one of the reasons that the cross punishment was so bad, is you didn't die from bleeding out. You usually died because you suffocated. When they break your ribs down here and they fasten you to the cross, your chest has to heave up to breathe, and the amount of breath that you're allowed to take when you're on a cross is significantly less than is required to keep you alive. So you end up taking in less and less breath and oxygen starving your brain. It's one of the slowest and most painful deaths because it's one of the slowest ways to oxygen deprive the brain, aside from all of the torture that you go through to do so. And you want people to emulate that in sex. Oh my god. Anywho, I'm thoroughly repulsed. So when we tie all the above principles to ask whether a Christian wife should endure painful sex with her husband, the answer is yes. Okay, here's the fun part. Now, we got these 7 principles here. Am I wrong in saying that the disclaimers at the beginning of this are completely undermined by every single one of those principles? Like, honestly, these 6 paragraphs of apology completely shot down once they bring in these 7 biblical principles in. So when we tie all the above principles together that are all bullshit, the answer to whether or not a Christian wife should endure painful sex with her husband is no. You should not have to endure painful sex. You should do something to make it less, or better yet, not painful. Also, we have a donation from Drag Worker. What I'm getting from this is their religion forgets sexual compatibility and replaces it with just deal with the pain. You're a woman. It's your job. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Thank you for the $5 donation as well, by the way. That's awesome. No, the answer is definitely a resounding no. I cannot agree with this article. Even granting these, I still can't agree because you're a human being and you deserve to actually be treated like a human being who's, on par, at least, with everybody else around you. And if you're told that somebody else's sexual needs are above yours, then no, that's gross. Some clarifications. Should a wife seek out help from her doctor if she experiences painful intercourse? Absolutely, yes. That has nothing the fuck to do with any of these, though. The only reason you're clarifying Okay, so what's happening here? The reason this person has a 6-paragraph apology at the beginning and clarifications at the end is so what's sandwiched between can be easier to digest. The problem is what's sandwiched between here is either undermines his apologies completely, or, in situations like this, your argument had nothing to do with this. Some causes of pain can be helped with medication or sometimes even surgery. Yes, this is true. But I would assume that you would say that the reason for that surgery is because you need to pleasure your husband, so please get surgery so that you can pleasure your husband better. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but I have this sneaking suspicion I'm not. Doorknob Head says, "Ooh, what is the Satanic Temple? Had a Latin cross with Jesus on it, and then they emulated it. That'd be a nice troll move. After the Christ is consumed, the cross flips over. Huh. Ma'am, you have a full perineum tear. It's okay, Doc. My husband is happy. Oh, I should probably also let you know that there's a thing. It's a really disgusting practice, but it's called, I believe it's called like the husband stitch or something like that, where I don't know if it's still done today, but there was a time where after a woman would have a pregnancy, and they were getting cleaned up down there by their doctor, they would do some stitching. And normally the stitching is there just to get any areas that tore so that they can heal properly. But what would happen is that a doctor would actually stitch the area down there to make it tighter. And again, I think this was called the husband stitch or something like that. I would look it up. But they would make it tighter down there. And it was seen as a way to make sure that things would tighten. The excuse was that it would make sure that things would tighten back up after the healing was done. Realistically, it made things tighter than before the woman had the surgery at all, or the stitching at all. And what this stitch did is after it healed, it would cause an area that originally may have been like this to forever be like this. After it healed that way, the only way to fix it would be to rip it back up, and now you've got scar tissue down there, and that's its own problem. So when you have that area now like 20% tighter than normal, all sex might become more pleasurable for the husband, and that was the intention, but it also destroyed that area down there and could destroy the ability for the wife or whoever in this situation. It would destroy their ability to get pleasure from it. It made all sex painful at this point. I didn't know that was a thing until a few months ago, until I saw it on Facebook feed and then said, okay, let me do some research into this. And the articles that I found on it were fucking disgusting. The fact that I know that that's a thing that happens makes all of this worse to me. Like, it makes all of this infinitely worse. Anyway, other types of pain experienced by women during intercourse may have no cure, as a woman may have to learn to endure and cope with such pain. No! That's not how that works! If it hurts, don't do the thing! You don't have to learn to endure and cope. You can just not do it! It's your vagina! Don't fucking do it! Still, other types of pain may be temporary, as Sonny alluded to. When a wife has not had sex, while it may hurt the first few times afterwards, she may need to very regularly have sex, which is a good thing for her husband and herself. I love that you put the husband first in that, in order to avoid this kind of pain. Have more sex to avoid the pain. Just, no. Look, if it hurts you to have sex, and your partner wants to have sex, and they have a need for... There are some people who do need to have sex more than others. There's ways to do this. That way is not torturing yourself. There's other ways. I don't want to get into all of them because they get kind of graphic, but if you spend some time on Pornhub, I'm sure you can find some creative alternatives. This is the type of rhetoric that I find entirely repugnant. Cameo said that they use this shit to justify sick behavior and abuse. I agree. Drag says that I want to believe this is a Poe. I would like to believe it's a Poe as well. But I can say it's not because of what's there. Anyway. Might some types of pain be avoided simply by the husband making some changes in his methods? Of course. And wives should find respectful and gentle ways to direct their husband as regard. I'm sorry, if I am having sex and I hurt my partner and they scream, they probably needed to. And it's probably a good thing they did. If you're hurting your partner, it might not be in their best interest to just gently go, hey honey, could you not? Could you not? Because if you're in the height of passion, that you might not listen to that very well. But if somebody's screaming at you, which might be what you need, if this person definitely needs to be screamed at, that's probably going to end up working a lot better for them in the end. Oh my god. Gringo says, too bad for them. I can already see two places where the principles are wrong, and that's just looking at this biblically. Yeah. Nope, I agree. Should a woman hide her pain from her husband? Okay. Some women might have visual cues of pain to help their husbands understand what hurts and what does not. Yeah, like a safe word. This can be used, but should be used carefully. If it is used to help improve sex and not to shame her husband. How? No! What? How is you hurting in sex shaming your husband? How is that a thing? It might also be a warning to the woman herself that she needs to see a doctor. However, what if after seeing a doctor, the doctor tells her the source of her pain cannot be cured and there's nothing that her husband can do differently to make this pain go away? The answer is clear, even if it's not easy. A wife who suffers from chronic and untreatable dyspareunia, painful intercourse, must find the strength to endure such pain, and not only endure it, but hide it as much as possible from her husband. The stupid! This isn't just stupid, this is abusive. Everything about this is abusive. If it hurts, communicate. If it continues to hurt, stop. For fuck's sake, if it hurts up the vagina, use enough lube. The asshole is an option. I know that might be graphic, but it's better than hurting your partner. It's infinitely better than hurting your partner. Don't hurt your partner. They're your partner for a reason. Probably because you don't fucking hurt them. Oh my god. The reason she should hide this is for her to do her best to fulfill, one, the purposes for which God designed her. Okay, cool. Excellent. So what's happened here is this person has said that a woman is designed for the purpose of having sex with her husband. This makes her a fucking object. A thing to be used. No! Also, we have a $2 super chat from Christy Santiago. Thank you for bringing these tough topics up. You know, you're thanking me, but I kind of want to shoot myself in the face. This person shot themselves in the foot writing this article. I want to shoot myself in the face so I can forget I saw it. Oh boy. There is another general principle that applies to all Christians, both men and women, and that is that we are to set aside anything that hinders us from fulfilling the purposes that God has for our lives. And when it comes to this issue of painful sex, I encourage wives to truly meditate. You meant meditate, you said mediate, on this passage from the book of Hebrews. What he's doing is bad mediation. You're asking for meditate. You need to fucking put a T in there. That's one of many thousands of corrections this article needs. 1. Wherefore, seeing we are also compassed about it with so great a cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight, and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, finish, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down as the right hand of the throne of God. Are you willing to lay aside your pride and your discomfort and even your chronic sexual pain and to endure such pain to fulfill one of the purposes for which God created you, which was to bring sexual pleasure to your husband? Are you willing to do this without an attitude? Without trying to pass your suffering on to your husband in order to make him not want to have sex with you? Oh my god, it hurts. It all hurts. Doorknob had donated $2 and said, because I want to be like Christy Santiago. Samarati says, one easy solution to correct this article is Alt F4. You know, Alt F4 will not delete it from the internet or my brain, unfortunately. And Andy Lucy says, you look like you need a hug. I could use one. Vibrantly Brantley says, these topics shouldn't be tough. Common sense. No, they shouldn't be tough. It shouldn't be a tough topic to tell somebody not to hurt their partner during sex. That's, unless they want it. If you want it, then, that's fine. There's whips and chains for that, and other such implements. Again, Pornhub can help you be creative, I'm sure. Simon Ross says, if a woman is crying throughout sex, is the man always wrong to continue? Yes! No, I agree. And I think I should just ignore most of the nuance now, because this article is ignoring the nuance. If I bring up the nuance, it's giving the article more credit than it deserves. Alice made the following statement in regard to J.D.M. Martin's statement about his wife crying during sex. I still maintain that if a woman is crying throughout the whole experience, the man is doing something wrong or she has medical issues which should be addressed. But is it true that if a woman is crying through the whole sexual experience that it is automatically the man who is doing something wrong? The answer is no. There is something wrong happening there, and it is that the man is continuing. What? I don't get it. I don't know. If he's continuing and you're crying for him to stop, not only is the man a problem, but this sexual intercourse experience has now evolved into rape. If you're crying out for him to stop and he doesn't, consent has been revoked. It is now rape. That's all it is. This article has officially condoned a type of rape. In the case of J.D.M. Martin, I think from his own admission of being rough with his wife, he may be doing something wrong. No shit. But it really does depend, though, on the woman. What is rough? Some women are like China dolls, and any amount of friction or thrusting during sex may be considered rough to them when it is really not. No, I'll continue though. And they simply need to endure and strengthen themselves. There's one thing you got right, and that is that everybody's different. There's certain levels of pain that certain people can take, certain levels of pain they can't take. I can take the pain of slamming that hammer into my head as many times as I need to. I might need medication afterwards, but I can still handle it. There are people who can handle being whipped. There are people who can handle being flogged. There are people who can handle a paddle. Again, Pornhub helps. That joke's going to get ran down to the dirt. However, sex is a two-way street. If you are having sex with your partner, you need to be as cognizant of your partner's feelings as you're expecting them to be cognizant of yours. So if you, for some stupid reason, think that you can do whatever you want to them and they need to just buck up and endure it, you're wrong, you're abusive, and you're part of the problem. And the person who wrote this article is wrong and abusive and part of a big problem. For me personally, since I have been married to 2 different women, I divorced my first wife for adultery. I can say that it's different. I can say I saw this different play out firsthand. I have something to unpack here, but I'm going to give it a second. My first wife was telling me to be rougher, and my second wife was telling me to be gentler. So every woman really is different in this regard. Okay, cool. So your first wife, when she said be rougher, were you rougher? I would hope so. And if the next wife said be gentler, and were you gentler? Well, I would hope so. However, can I just point out something? According to this article, premarital sex is wrong, and he's been married to 2 different women. By that logic, I would assume that he has had sex with 2 different women. And if he hasn't, he's being hypocritical, because he's addressed it in this article. So let's assume he's not being a hypocrite. Let's assume he's being a good Christian boy, and he is, in fact, following his edicts. Congratulations! You've had sex with 2 whole people. 2! That makes you an expert. No, the fuck it doesn't. And based on this, you're an abuser. You think maybe, I could be wrong here, but maybe the reason that your wife cheated on you in the first relationship, it said, I divorced my first wife for adultery. I am assuming you meant she cheated on you. I could be wrong. But let's consider that based on what you've written in this article, maybe she was looking for somebody who wouldn't abuse her. And it just so happens that you were. Based on the rhetoric in this article, I can't see you as anything but an abuser. So here we are. Husbands and wives both need to adjust to one another when it comes to sex. Hold the fuck on! Husbands and wives both need to adjust to one another when it comes to sex. Then what the fuck is this paragraph? Simply need to endure and strengthen themselves. Husbands and wives need to adjust. These are not the same fucking point. These are points that undermine each other. Why the fuck are they being spoken so close to one another and by the same person? Sometimes a man may have to take some changes with his wife, like not hurting her. But at the same time, a woman might have to endure some things for her husband. Okay? I don't know how many times I have to say it. If it hurts the man's penis to have sex with the wife, then the wife needs to take that into consideration when they're having sex and try not to hurt her husband. If the husband is hurting the wife down there when they are having sex, then the husband needs to take that into consideration and not hurt his wife. This is simple. There's nothing new about this, and there's not even nuance required here. It's just don't hurt your fucking partner. The onus is not on the person being hurt for these situations. If the wife was hurting the husband, it would be no different. Whichever partner is being hurt, it is the fault of the person who is not taking their feelings into consideration. That's it. That's all it is. So when a woman cries all during sex, could it be that the man is mistreating her? Absolutely yes. But from a Christian perspective, we must realize that sometimes it could be the woman who is in the wrong for crying throughout the entire sexual experience. No. No, it's not. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. If a woman is crying to manipulate her husband because she simply didn't want to have sex or to make him feel bad for wanting sex when she did not want to, then the sin lies with her. No, if the husband is having sex and the wife didn't want it, then she didn't consent. And it's rape. Stop. Stop being a rape apologist. That's what you're being here. You're being a rape apologist. That's all this is being a fucking rape apologist. Even a woman who suffers from true painful intercourse, whether it is from temporary conditions or is from a long-term chronic and untreatable condition, they might be in the wrong for crying throughout the entire experience. Okay, so let's see if this works. Let's see if this works the other way around. Okay, so let's say your wife has a baseball bat. Let's just use my hammer as an example. Let's say she's got a baseball bat. And she starts beating you, right? Here we are. You're being beaten. It hurts. You're crying. Is it your fault that you're crying while she's beating you? No. It's not your fault. It might be your fault that she started beating you. You might have done something stupid. I would hope not. But let's go ahead and assume, for the sake of argument, that you didn't do something wrong. And she shouldn't be beating you anyway. Let's be honest. Nobody should be hurting each other. You're not in the wrong for crying while being beaten with a baseball bat. And she's not in the wrong for crying while you hurt her. No. I feel bad for your wife. I'm glad your ex left. The point here on a woman crying during sex is this. It is not always the man that is in the wrong when this occurs. It can sometimes be the woman who's in the wrong for crying. And in some rare cases, neither one may be wrong in what they are doing. The husband may not be wrong for continuing and finishing, and the wife may not be wrong for crying. R-A-P-E. Rape is a felony. The practical benefits of a wife enduring painful sex. How much more of this article do I have to endure? Oh, cool, the conclusion's there. I want to move from the biblical reasons why a wife should endure and move on to the practical ones. My wife, like many women I know, loves flowers. Each year we plant flowers in our front yard. And we get hanging baskets. These flowers need two things to survive. They need sunlight and they need water. If they get sunlight but no water, they will die. If they get water but no sunlight, they will also die. In the same respect, a man's affections and his passion for his wife is fueled by two things: sex and respect. If you did nothing to deserve the respect of your partner, then your partner owes you this much respect. If your partner didn't consent to any of the sex, your partner owes you this much sex. This entire metaphor is wrong. Every bit of this is wrong. Even aside from spiritual reasons, there are very practical reasons that a woman should gladly endure painful sex with her husband in order to water his affection for her. And now you're treating sex like a carrot, and the husband is the stick. No. No. Nothing about this article is correct. There are a few things in this article that slip into being somewhat right, and I've addressed those. Anytime I've agreed with the writer or the people they posited, I've said so. But there's so much fundamentally wrong that this article gets, and its overlying message is fundamentally wrong. This is an article that promotes abuse. This is an article that makes apologies for rape. This is an article that is harmful. Conclusion. Will you, as a woman, set aside your pride and unlearn the selfishness that our society has taught you? Women not wanting to have sex. All right, everybody. We have our new poster child for the incel community. He's new here. Please treat him right. He thinks that women owe him sex. I think he's wrong. He's an idiot. Will you be strong in the way God meant and not in the way the world tells you to be strong? The world tells women that for them to be strong, they must stand up for themselves and stand up to men. But God tells women that they were made for men. Yeah, it tells them that they're objects. And that they are to submit to their husbands in everything. I'm not touching that. As everything I've said before applies to this sentence right here. There should be no submitting. A relationship is not about submitting. It is not about subservient. It is about compromise. It is about sharing a living space and an experience with somebody and learning to compromise. Learning that sometimes there are things that one partner needs that the other has to make a compromise on. However, that compromise does not come in the form of hurting your partner. Yes, there's going to be a compromise like, I would like to eat 5 slices of pizza. There are 8 slices of pizza here. My partner also would like to eat 5 slices of pizza. Maybe we should both eat 4 because one of us is going to get the short end of the stick if we try to eat 5 slices of pizza. Maybe I want to have sex, and my partner will get hurt from that sex. The compromise is not have the sex anyway and hurt your partner. The compromise is find a way to get sexual gratification from your partner that they are okay with and that does not hurt them. There's a lot of ways to do it. We're in the age of the internet. If you can't think of one, Google. There's a few. There's a few I can think of right now. The Bible also tells us that strength is not always demonstrated through resistance. Sometimes strength is demonstrated through joyfully exercising patience, enduring, and long-suffering. I agree, but not in the way you want me to. Strength can be demonstrated through being patient instead of being reactionary. Strength can be demonstrated through endurance as opposed to violence. Yes. But the way that you're trying to explain it here is a way to force somebody to be subservient to you. I feel like this article was written because you and your wife had an argument about her not giving you enough sex. Because you stated in the article that this wife is somebody who wanted you to be gentler in sex. And you've stated that sometimes your wife is just going to have to grin and bear it. No. I'm very certain that you and your wife had a disagreement. And this article is your way of justifying your position in your disagreement. Instead of having this argument with your wife, you had it on the internet in a blog. Vibrantly Brandley says, how low was this fruit you found? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know how low this fruit is. I stopped measuring. Because there are some people that view Kent Hovind as the pinnacle of apologetics. There's some people that view Ken Ham as the pinnacle of scientific literacy. And while I view them both as incredibly low-hanging fruit, there are people that view them as though they were a god. I've learned when it comes to shit like this, there's no such thing as low-hanging fruit anymore. If you say something stupid, and you say it in a public forum, you are liable to be addressed. Low-hanging fruit or not. Being low-hanging fruit does not give anyone an excuse to not be talked about. I'm sorry. That's not a point against you, Brantley. That's just me already in my angry phase. And the video I'm going to be responding to for my next video, the video I'm going to be building, is going to be Discount Hoven 6. Yes, Discount Hoven 6. So this pallor is not about to change anytime soon. None of this is about to change. Which sucks. It's painful. I have a Bible passage here. I really don't feel like reading it at this point. So, what will you do with your pain? Will you use it as a selfish excuse to hinder your husband from fully exercising the image of God in him? Having sex is now fully exercising the image of God, everybody. Will you pass your suffering on to your husband and thus hinder what God designed to be a primary driver for his affection for you? Or will you demonstrate true Christian strength with joy and endure painful sex for the betterment of your husband and your marriage, but not the betterment of yourself? All this does is undermine yourself, and thus fulfill one of the most important purposes for which God has designed you as a woman. Samarade says, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but this one got hit by a fucking lawnmower. Thank you for the super chat, Samarade. Yes. Ghostly Enigma says he needs a pipe wrapped in razor wire up the arse. Jesus. Discount Hoven is such a great series. Thank you, Christy. I don't know why I haven't gotten, and I know why I haven't gotten to Discount Hoven 6 in a while. Because I don't like being in this mode, but like when I watch any of his videos, I get into this mode. I don't get a choice. It says the choice is yours, and the consequences of your choice will be yours as well. Well, all I can say is your marriage, your second marriage, might not last very much longer. Based on this article. Are there comment sections? Ooh, there's a comment sections. There's a comment section. Let's see. I certainly did not mean to imply that every time a woman cries during sex it's her husband's fault. So I was reacting to J.D.M. Martin's comment that his wife very often cries during sex. Let's see. Alice is the first of two articles I'm writing. Oh, yeah. And he responded there. Let's see. I think we have to have proper expectations to help things go right. Often people are told that any amount of discomfort is bad. Oh, it's just a sounding board. And this is a recent article. This is from this month. This is a new article. Oh, dear. After childbirth, a woman's hole is off limits for very good medical reasons. Just say vagina. Come on, just say vagina. It's not hard. It's a fun word to say, too. If a man has ED, shouldn't he also seek other ways to please his wife sexually? Yes, he should. Just like the wife should seek other ways that don't hurt her. Jesus. How is it hard to understand? Fred Harvey says, will you be a unique independent being or a slave? Wives take control by shoving as many fingers as required up his ass during sex so that his pain matches yours, and God bless. And no, Jirit till you're dead. I think that's how I pronounce your name. I could be wrong. This is the comment section on his original article. The original article starts here from December 20th, 2018. I have a little bit of time left. We're going to do a thing. We're going to look at his bio. Take a look at his bio. That's a lot of bio. It's a lot of bio. My philosophy about biblical interpretation. Do I have a right to teach the Word of God? Many who do not like biblical passages I expound upon here usually come out with two texts. You don't have any to reason theology, or you don't have any right to speak on these subjects because you're divorced. I don't think that's the case. I'm not reading through your whole bio. I'm not. You're not worth it. The hour and 15 minutes that I spent on this alone was enough to just make my head hurt. Jesus. Smitty says also men have 2 holes. Get out your strap-ons for female empowerment. Agreed. Okay. So, that was Biblical Gender Roles article on why a wife should endure painful sex with her husband. So what do you guys think? I have a feeling I know what you guys are thinking since you guys have been commenting the entire time in here, and I have been looking at it. So I have an inkling of what you guys think about this article. I think it had rotten. It was actually eaten by something subsequently and then shat out. I used to roll down Tamarack Beach in Southern California in a topless Jeep singing Bloodhound Gang's 3.14. I like the word vagina. Christopher says, are biblical gender roles like diet gender roles? You know, as somebody who drinks sweet tea sweetened with sucralose, I'm a fan of diet drinks. And no, I think Christie's point on gender roles is the most valid one I've heard so far. Gender roles are best when served with gender fluids. That's best. Zarok says, oh dear God, it was so stupid. Misty says, wonder if belief is a choice, but a theist says no. And Superstition Free Madwell says, was that Discount Hoven? This was not Discount Hoven. This was not the guy behind the channel that I respond to that's created the Discount Hoven series. This is not the same person, although an argument could be made that they follow some of the same people. I'm not 100% certain, though. Let's see here. Audio downloads. This person has audio downloads. I wonder. Oh, below are MP3 audio versions of Biblical Gender Roles. YouTube episodes available for download. Oh, he's got a YouTube channel. Oh dear. He's got a YouTube channel. Ooh. First video that I see here. Equal rights for women, a blessing or a curse. Masculinity, toxic or divine. Is the separation of church and state biblical? Oh. Oh. Oh, this is going to be great. I had no idea that such a treasure trove of stupid would be placed into my lap today. So, which of these videos should I do a response to is the question. Christmas says, you hit what they call a gold mine. Cajun Crustacean says, we know who Cyrus is going to destroy next. A great train wreck. Great like a train wreck. You'll get the headphones again, Cyrus. Oh boy, the woman equal rights one. Yep, I think this is gonna have to be the one that I do. Obviously, I'm not gonna be doing it right now because we've hit an hour and a half on the stream so far. This is well and above what I originally intended on doing for the stream, but I wanted to finish that article, and it was packed with so much stupid that I didn't have much of a choice. Okay, you guys take a pick, and you guys are going to determine how this next week is going to go. Is Matt Powell his ghostwriter from Puffalopagus? I do think that doing a collaboration on one of these is something that I should do. So let me know who you would like me to do a collaboration with in regards to any of these articles. And I will see what I can do about reaching out to them and seeing if they've got the time for me to do a collaboration. Because I would love to tackle one of these. Secondly, so we know we're going to be doing the equal rights for women, but the question is, for tomorrow's episode, equal rights for women or Discount Hoven 6? Should I tackle biblical gender roles first, or should I do the Discount Hoven episode first? Because based on what I see here, I can easily get both of those episodes out this week. So you're going to get both of them before the week is out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on that. But for Tuesday's episode, would you rather see a Discount Hoven episode, or would you rather see biblical gender roles? Drag Worker, you say finish Hoven. I won't be finishing Hoven. The Discount Hoven series has at least 5 more episodes in it. That's nowhere near finished. Discount Hoven sounds like a nice change of pace. Yeah, I haven't done a super incredulous well, no, I did the Battle Truth video. That one was an incredulous type video. Collaborate with Dr. Josh Bowen, read the biblical interpretation aspects, and Shannon Q for the psychological discussion. Okay, that's a thing I can try to do. Trackworker says, goody, more enjoyment. Oh, boy. This is going to be a very, very fun week. Hoven sounds like manna from heaven. Dragworker says, I live off of this cringe. If your life revolves around cringe, then I'm sorry. That's some sustenance that's kind of scary to work with. That said, though, I am going to be hopping off of here. If any of you want to chat, my Discord is open for people to chat on, and I might be in the voice comms at some point today, simply because it is holiday, and I do want to talk with some people. So, Doorknobhead says, do Hoven before Hoven does you. A very painful week, and run him through the wood chipper. Oh, boy. I got mentioned by Circe, and that made my year. Nice. Okay, said, who's your mana god to Moses? All of these things. Anyway, like I said, Discord server is open as always. Links to that are going to be in the description below, as well as all my other usual links. Please check those out. Hop on there to talk with people. I'm not always on the Discord server, but there's always somebody usually on to talk to there, if not myself. So, hope you enjoy. And I'm going to go ahead and sign out and get to work on tomorrow's episode, because daily uploads means I'll be here. I'll be here all week, everybody. Also, remember, later tonight, me and Godless Iowan are going to be hosting a stream for New Year's, and that is going to be at 11:30 Eastern. So if you guys would like to see me again, I will probably be incredibly haggard, because between this episode and recording for Discount Hoven or Equal Rights for Women, I have no idea how my brain is going to function at that point. I'm probably going to be very burnt out at that point. But I'll be here. I will be here. All right. See you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will certainly be doing more in the future, especially now that I have found a new project.